Hi, I'm Jane, and together with Jodes, we are two proud feminists passionate about female empowerment. This podcast is our take on the real conversations, real issues, and real challenges we must stay focused on if we're going to inspire the next generation of female leaders, managers, and entrepreneurs to pick up the baton and continue the journey to equality. But be warned, there will be rants and the odd profanity, but mainly just lots of curious conversations, uplifting stories, great guests, and food for thought on the path we still have to travel. It is clear that our young girls need us to harness our gumption and to use our voices now to make the changes we all know need to happen. It's time to be a pioneer, not a passenger. To paraphrase the famous words of a female game changer, Hollywood's iconic Bette Davis, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, so welcome to the podcast with Jane and Jodes. We're on episode 3 of series 3.
Can
you believe that? My word, where's it gone? So we're in the series where we're talking about women in work, does it? And today we're going to talk about the female pipeline leak, which we know is an issue. We both work with businesses. We both work in corporate. We know this is an issue across all sectors.
I personally leaked.
I leaked as well. Absolutely, I've leaked. Yeah. And why? Why are we leaving these jobs that we've invested so much of our time, so much money, so much of our equity? Why are we leaving these jobs when we get to about top middle? So we're not leaving in our 20s, we're leaving when we get to top middle. And top middle, generally, we're around early 30s onwards, because some of us might have been in our 40s when we leaked, but we're in that game. So why are we doing that? So we're going to talk about some of those things. And I'm going to hand you over to Jodes to talk about one of the things that does happen around that time, and it's called a biological clock. And as mine's never kicked in, I'm probably not the ideal person to have that bit of the conversation. So Jodes.
Biological clock, tick tock. But I think this is probably the single biggest influence on the female pipeline leak. Not the only one, but it's probably one that many do resonate with. Well, if you've been a childbearing person, so having 3 of the ankle biters, I have been in this situation a couple of times. And like you said there, actually, if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll know both Jane and I accelerated our careers at a young age. And I got to kind of 32. I had a couple of kids younger, but I was so ferociously ambitious in my 20s. I chucked them in nursery and went back to work when they were 3 months old. But when I had my third daughter, so I was 32, and I was at that point, that mid to senior manager level at that point, and that's when I leaked. And a lot of that I think is down to that all of a sudden, even though we feel like we're in modern days and modern times, the care responsibility primarily still falls to the woman, especially early on, because you are the one that gave birth to them. But it doesn't have to be that way. No. I think didn't we look at some statistics of how many men are actually taking
less than 2%.
Less than 2%.
Less than 2%.
Are taking their, what is it now? Shared parental leave.
Yeah, I'd like to call it family leave, wouldn't you? I'd like to get rid of that paternity-maternity thing, but it is still called that generally,
And that's where most people's focus will go about this, is that, the care responsibilities. And sometimes if you're not a parent of a small person, it might even be like parents that you're starting to care for, that falls to the woman in the relationship to pick up the majority of that role. But actually, the bit of it, my experience that stuck with me the most was actually before I had the baby. It was being pregnant in work.
It's interesting.
All of a sudden, starting to get treated very differently. I guess some of it was maybe with positive intent. I was getting treated with kid gloves. I was getting wrapped in cotton wool. Now, I found that highly frustrating. I didn't necessarily react to it
Mm.
positively because I felt like I was being treated
Mm.
differently
Yeah.
and
you're just
almost
pregnant. You haven't got
just
a
pregnant.
disease.
Yeah,
You
that,
know.
you know, I'm still fully capable.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't disable me
Yes.
in any way.
Yes.
Even, I know it's a protected characteristic kind of thing, but I was absolutely fine.
Mm.
But it was even down to things like, I might not get invited to certain meetings anymore
Mm.
or asked to contribute to certain things. And the response when I asked why, it'd be, "Oh, but you're not going to be here when this happens," or
Yeah.
"So what? There's no point in
Yeah.
including you." Well,
Mm.
no, but I'm here now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I've got a valid contribution,
Yeah.
and I'm working in this business till the very last moment that I can.
I've heard women say to me that, when they're pregnant, that a lot of people around them, like it's generally men, say to them, "Oh, well, we don't even know if you're coming
Yeah,
back."
I had that.
What do you mean? I'm coming back? Yeah, but we don't know, do we?
You might change your mind
I
when you get
know, and I'm
there.
coming back, so you don't need to worry about. Oh well, we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Should we say that to you when you go on a golfing holiday to
Are you gonna come
Spain?
back?
Yeah, but you might love playing golf
Yeah,
in Spain, mightn't
yeah.
you? You might not come back. Doesn't matter.
Mm.
Yeah, I absolutely had that.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things even at being pregnant in work stage. And if you are somebody, clearly if you're at mid to senior level, you wanted to progress your career.
Yes.
Yeah. You wanted a bigger role, an influential role. You wanted to be a decision maker. So, you are going to come back
Yeah.
and you do what you want to be there
Yeah.
for as long as you can be.
Yeah. But even if you don't, it's nobody else's decision or
No.
right to make that choice
No.
for you at that stage.
No, that's it.
To me, it's like it's my body, it's my choice, and so because I'm here and I'm doing the job, then I'm present, and that's how I should be treated.
Yeah. But even things like they'll be like, "Oh, you've got baby brain, haven't you?" If I was thinking about something, or I don't know, maybe a word wouldn't come to mind.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I know, but you've got baby brain." I haven't got baby
Yeah.
brain. No, I've just forgotten a word. So
Mm.
there's lots of micro messaging
Yes.
in that stage of
That's
being
really
pregnant at
interesting
this
because I've never thought of
stage.
that. You only ever thought about actually what happens when you've got
When
the
you've got the
children.
baby.
Yeah, but I have seen it very recently. I have seen it very recently when I worked in a few companies.
And actually, for me, at the point I leaked when I left, so it was after that pregnancy. So I was the exact age you talked about, as the age most women do kind of leak out of the system. The reason I left was because I was discriminated against at that point. A promotion role became available because I was on maternity leave. Nobody told me about it. So I missed out on that opportunity. And clearly, I made a big deal about that when I found out, because that wasn't all right.
No.
But that was then the reason I was like, right, well, clearly I'm not going to stay here anymore.
No. But I mean, we know now that the age for women to have their first child on average is 34.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the stats, we've got the data. So why don't we plan for that? We know that women that are ambitious and aspirational at that age will be top middle or senior. So why aren't we planning for that? Why don't we see that as, we know these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
We're employing women. At the moment, there's only women that can reproduce.
Yeah.
So until that changes, then we need to plan for it. Otherwise, we're going to lose our female pipeline, our female talent. And that is what's happening. Yeah. So you'd be like, duh, when we talk about solutions, but the solution's pretty clear, isn't it?
On that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. So why aren't we doing anything about it? We're not. And then we've got like masses of think tanks in corporates looking at, why is this happening? And why we're losing this and so on and so forth. Some of these things are pretty obvious. So when we think about some of the other reasons why this is happening, that's just one. It's a biggie. But when we think of some of the other things, they are most definitely structural. They are big things. They're about culture. And I absolutely love Dame Mary Beard. I love her. She's kind of like, she's quirky. She's so clever. And in her recent book, Woman in Power Manifesto, the quote on the back of the book is what got me to read it. And the quote on the back of the book is, "You cannot easily fit women into a structure that is already coded male. you have to change the structure.
Yeah.
So you can't keep trying to squeeze them into something without changing anything. It's all right, they'll change. It's all right, they'll fit in. They won't. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing women struggling to actually progress in a lot of these structures that are male. And this is not just in companies, this is across our society.
Yeah.
This is in every public organisation, this is in every public office. We're starting to see it all over. So we know we've still got the Old Boys Network. We know, as you've mentioned, that majority of women do all the care work, so the childcare, the kind of looking after aging parents, looking after children that have got special needs.
Yeah.
You know, the women do all of that.
And even you know, just the mental and emotional load of the household.
Absolutely.
It's remembering that the dog needs to go to the vets.
Yeah. It's Father's Day.
Yeah, and all of those things.
The travel.
That still all sits.
The bills, you know, all of that. Absolutely. And we know that women still do 75% of all of that. So it's not that all men don't do any of this. As we've always said, there are good men out there. There are lots and lots of good men, but the load still sits with us.
Yeah.
You know, we are sort of trying to do all of that while we're also doing the stuff in work. And, you know, at some point that gets like exhausting. It's exhausting, and we start to make different decisions. And this is, again, sometimes where we leak. So I know that you work as an executive coach, Jode. So there are some things that you've seen around performance here as well, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely. So there's that. Yeah, whilst we've talked about the earlier bit when the reproductive bit kicks in, the second opportunity for this to happen, I think, really comes around the 40 mark.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a button that gets pressed. And as well as seeing this in a lot of the female clients I have, actually still got some lived experience of it myself. And I remember turning 40 and feeling like I woke up and thought, I've arrived.
Yeah.
I woke up and I thought, I know who I am.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my identity fell into place. And I was happy with it. I was no longer people pleasing, trying to be all things to all people, trying to be a square peg that fit in a round hole, all of those things. I didn't care that much anymore. But what that also did was make me think, why am I doing all the stuff that I'm doing? I'm running myself into the ground. And that's what I see in lots of other women.
Yeah.
It's almost like they've been fighting this male coded setup. And we're going to talk a lot more about this male coded game, as we're going to call it, in episode 5. So don't, you know, it's not that we're brushing that one under the carpet now. We're going to zoom in on that one in episode 5. So make sure you tune in for that one. But what happens for women is they've fought this male coded system all through the 20s. And actually, they had tons of energy for it in their 20s.
True, very true.
Loads of zest for life, big dreams, big ambitions.
Thinking, I'll sort this.
Yeah.
I'll rise above
break
this. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Then we go into the 30s and we're a little bit weary with it. And we're doing all of that family juggling set up.
Yeah.
So that all gets a bit heavy in our 30s. And actually, maybe for some of us, like our relationships change, you know, what we set up in our 20s that we thought was going to be our for life is now like, that's not going to happen anymore. So everything gets chucked up in the air. And then they get to 40 and then they realise that I'm knackered. I've been fighting this thing for 15, 18, maybe 20 years.
Someone's got to give.
And I'm like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
It hasn't made me happy.
Yeah.
I'm still fighting.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm done with it.
Yeah. I haven't changed it. I haven't managed to change it. Neither has anybody else.
So tell you what, I've got one life. I think this is the moment where you have that one life moment and you think, I need to live it for me. So we deselect ourselves proactively for the right reasons at that point. And we go off and we do something that's a bit more purpose-led.
Yeah, you're right. And again, as somebody that coaches female entrepreneurs, that generally is the age.
Yeah.
So they're leaving corporate to set up their own business, or their business is starting to fly around that age.
Yeah. And the performance link in that is the bit that the male coded bit
disappears.
It's all about, that's been driving performance out of them all the way through that. They've been focused on results and outcomes and targets and all of those things, when actually, as a woman, we're far more driven by values and purpose. And so that's why I think we deselect that moment, because like, I'm done in with the performing, and it hasn't really got me anywhere, and I'm knackered. And deep down, I'm driven by values and purpose. My values don't align here, clearly. So I'm off to pursue a passion project and a purpose project.
And they don't always find that straight away.
No.
So what a lot of people do, and this is what I do when I leaked at the end of my 20s, and I set up my first business doing what I was doing in corporate.
You were pioneering.
Yeah. And was I pioneering?
Yeah, of course.
Right, okay. So I set up a business doing what I was doing in corporate, marketing, brand development, which is what I knew how to do, but it wasn't my passion. It wasn't my passion project. It wasn't my purpose. It was just a way of me actually getting out of that organizational structure that was like, squeezing me. And the politics of it all, which I wasn't very good at, and I'm still not. And doing something where I could earn my own money and define my own values and that my own way of working. It wasn't my passion. My passion took me another 10 years to find. So I think that happens to a lot of people, and men as well, when they come out of something where they've been driven by somebody else's dream, and they've been in a profession, i.e. this is what I do. It takes a while to get from this is what I do to this is what I'm here for. And, it takes some intervention, it takes some self-awareness, it takes some work on you. And then you might have an aha moment, you might not, you might just slowly slide into something.
Takes you a while to figure it out.
You might meet somebody that sparks something for you. You might have that aha moment, but we all are waiting for that, and it doesn't happen for most of us.
No, and my reflection on that, because that's exactly the same for me, is I was so focused on what I was going to do or what I was going to be, because that's how I'd been conditioned all the way through that corporate career, where it's about what I delivered, what I, the job that I do. And only now when I look back is actually it was when I leaked and I went off on my own. I love this term now, when I leaked. Just makes me think I need a is that if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have worried less about what I was doing and focused more on the fact that I could be driven by my values. Almost for a while, it wouldn't matter what it is, as long as I could live by my values and by a bit of it took me ages to work my actual purpose out. But I still could have gone a bit more purpose-led and not got so consumed in I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I get that. So I kind of just knew what I was going to do. I knew I was going to do what I was doing there, but for me. So then I did it based on my own approach and my own values with my own people. And my own strategy and my own clients. So it was all completely different. But then I realised probably 5 or 6 years into that this is not what I'm here for.
No.
And I need to work out what that is. And so I gradually did a lot more work on me. And I've always been very into personal development, and I kind of found my route and found my purpose. But it didn't happen straight away.
No, and it's like maybe to other women who might be listening to this, who it's resonating with, going, oh my God, I'm in that space. If I could share any top tip for that, it is to know that let it work its own way out.
Absolutely. Don't overthink it.
No, but
don't overthink it. Get out of an environment that's sabotaging you and who you are. That's the main thing, isn't it? If you can't be who you are, if you can't be authentic, if you're not valued for that, you're not valued for your individuality and your own personal identity, then that's going to chip away at your confidence and your self-esteem, and it's going to continue chipping away. So if it's doing that, then you need to think about the next step, because it might not be where you are. And then just let it flow. Let it flow.
You don't have to have all the answers straight away.
Not. Absolutely not. Everybody's looking for this, searching for the panacea straight away, aren't they?
Yes.
I want to know what it is I'm supposed to be doing. I want to know why. I want to know what my purpose is. And it doesn't just arrive. You've got to do the work.
I think, and there's a phrase actually that's ended up being really powerful for me in many contexts. And that is, It's about the journey, not the destination. And I was such a destination person in so many different realms and scenarios that no wonder I was never happy. Because as soon as I got to whatever the destination was, I'm like, what's the next? What's it? There's not that much here, is there?
So I did that all the way through my 20s.
Yeah.
But like you say, in your 20s, it suits you, and it's, you know, because you've got the energy and you're excited, and it's everything's new, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and everything's a challenge, and you like the challenge, and you're earning good money, and it's, you know, it's
I
amazing.
thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
If I honestly and truthfully reflect back now, I don't know where. I just knew that that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really did enjoy it. I convinced myself I enjoyed it because it was ticking the boxes, and I was getting the things that apparently society said I should be getting. But actually now, when I go to that, life is about the journey. Enjoy the bumps in the road and get your head out your arse and look at the scenery. Then actually, that's when you do have a much more fulfilling and a different definition of a successful.
It'd be interesting, won't it, if we look at our the next generation's journey.
And if I was giving my advice to a 20-year-old now, I'd be like, look out the window, guys, girls.
But I think they do more. I think they're different to us. I think they're more aware of that stuff, and they're definitely more environmentally aware, and they don't see work in the same way that we do. You know, they've got a very different view on it, haven't they?
That's true.
So when you look at the millenniums, they don't like work on the same framework that we did.
No. And actually, you know, I was brought up that successful
is hard work.
You have to work your backside off.
Yeah.
And it's about money. And that belief has screwed me over something rotten, like in later years, because I've achieved some wonderful things that I can't chalk them up as success because they didn't make loads of money. Yet they were highly purposeful,
Have you reframed
impactful. I have reframed it, but I have to remind me. Still have to remind myself. You know, there are still moments where I feel ashamed or embarrassed of something that I've done because it didn't make loads of money.
Right.
I still haven't fully let go of that, and so
it's a biggie.
And again, that comes back to female, more coded stuff. I don't want to spoil the episode. But getting in your head this idea of there is a male coded environment, there's a female set of coding, and we don't get to play out naturally in the female space.
No, it doesn't have the same value, does it? It doesn't have the same collateral.
No,
it's not worth as much.
The weight.
Yes.
It's pink and fluffy, so it's nice to do stuff.
Soft thing. Soft thing.
And they need. I want us to get to a place where I'm not saying we put the male coded stuff in the bin. By the way,
absolutely not.
But absolutely not. We will have the best world when we've got balance of both.
So that's just a little taster.
Just a taster of episode 5.
So we're now on to our solutions. So I think we've kind of maybe talked about some of them in that, be true to yourself, recognize that if you want to stay and be a pioneer, because please, we need them.
Yeah.
Don't all leave. Yeah. Don't all leak. Don't all leak. We don't want the sort of game to be empty of women. But don't beat yourself up if it's time.
Yeah. And I think that was it Einstein, definition of insanity.
Oh, right, okay.
Repeatedly doing the same thing but expecting a different result.
Same thing in the same way, expecting a different result.
So it's not. This isn't about being stoic and us sticking where we are and thinking we've got to carry on fighting, and powering on through with that. We have got to tweak our approach to this. So we don't want us all to leak out of corporate. There are some of us that it would be the right thing to do.
Yes.
Deselect yourself, be empowered, change your life. But there are plenty of us who have still got some welly to have.
And will be empowered by staying in and being that pioneer.
Yeah. But it's about, can we go about that a little bit differently? And a couple of the things just for this episode that will make the difference, is about, I think the two words are kind of upstanding and allies.
Yeah.
So it's not about going in there like a bull in a china shop and saying, this place is a load of rubbish and we need to change everything right now. But it is about that gentle change and challenge of behaviour, not necessarily where it affects you. So being upstanding or an ally for somebody else is speaking up on their behalf, supporting them if they're having a bit of a tricky time with some of that stuff, whether you are a man or a woman. Is to start to question the status quo around some of this and challenge it. And often that is easier when it's not you that's being directly affected by it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is another form of sisterhood, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about us being on the same team.
Yeah.
But also getting the good men on the same team as well.
You know, we've talked a lot about sisterhood and allies in the context of challenging other people's behaviour. I guess what we're saying in this episode is do the same, but do it about systems and processes too.
Yes.
You know, if the system and the structure isn't helping us to be in work and stop us from leaking, then let's challenge the things and, you know, champion and pioneer. I said champion and pioneer at the same time. And
Pioneer. New word.
Be a pioneer.
Be a pioneer.
You heard it here. You did. Be that for changing the system and the structure in the place where you work.
Bring it on.
One at a time.
Bring it on.
That's how culture changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So give that a bit of thought. And over the next couple of episodes, we've got our second guest with us. Next episode. I'll leave that as a little bit of a surprise. You can find out more. Hope you enjoyed our first guest last time. But we will be talking about, you know, are we silencing women? We're going to be talking a bit about women's networks in a corporate sense. So a little bit of a taster to whet your appetite. Before then, in episode 5, where we'll come back to this idea of the male-coded game. We'll talk about that. So hope that's enough to keep you intrigued and waiting for the next episode release. So until then, we shall say
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Jane and Jodes on One. Until next time, remember, sisterhood matters. Together, we are bold, brave, fierce, and unstoppable.